Kevin Giancola, longtime PGA professional and 22-year director of instruction at Golf Quest Family Sports Centers in Southington, Connecticut. I'm here today at the beautiful Wampanoag Country Club in West Hartford, Connecticut to introduce to you today the most diverse, simple to use, and effective swing aid ever invented for the game of golf for the hands, wrists, and arms. It's called the Wristmaster. In all my years of experience, nearly 3 decades of teaching, one thing that every teacher likes to try to do and every student struggles with is to create lag, or what we call shaft angle at impact. It is one of the main power sources in golf, and it's the hardest thing to train, is how someone's hands and arms work at impact. And what shaft lean is that the hands lead and the shaft leans forward, and we create a descending blow on the golf ball. And what the Wristmaster does is helps that better than any other swing aid I've ever had in my past, and I have many of them which I'm going to show to you today. Hand action and creating lag is nothing new to the game of golf, and here are several things over the years which I have used in my passion to make my students better. And if you're a golfer, you've probably tried many of these too. First is the swing fan, and we swing this and it creates resistance, and we're supposed to swing this all winter long, and the best thing that I've ever seen this do is really collect dust. This is another thing called the assister, the Matzy. You have to be kidding me. Isn't golf hard enough? This is a bet. I actually bought this, $75. Shh, it's the secret. My favorite one over the years has been the impact bag, which I use all the time, as you can tell. And what it's supposed to do is have you get your hands to the bag and create impacts as such. And last but not least, I have gotten this one called the Colossi, which you're supposed to swing and do this, and it creates lag. I feel I'd rather play in a symphony orchestra with this. So there's several of the things I used, and there's a plethora of other ones in the effort to help the student create lag. The Wristmaster is the new best swing aid in golf. In golf, there are many aspects to the swing. You have heard many of them: turn, balance, set, everything you could imagine. And in the end, when we play golf with our hands, wrists, and forearms. And the Wristmaster really helps all golfers get better at that. The primary use is to find a fundamental wrist set that would be equal to any good player or any professional you see on TV. When we use the Wristmaster properly and set our wrist properly, the beep will go off during the backswing midway back, and what most players do in golf is what we call casting, an early release, and use and release our hands too early. What the Wristmaster does is give us the auditory response for the aid to impact to create shaft lean, and then release the noise or the beep. One major thing we see people do is roll the club face open, and if you do this motion here with the Wristmaster, the beep will not be set off, and your wrist will set incorrectly with a massively cupped left wrist. And we see this all the time in your average amateur with an open club face. And what the Wristmaster trains you to do is to set your wrist in this position in a much more fundamental manner. In golf, and all my years of teaching, the right wrist is really what we call the secret to golf, as I said before. And once we learn how to use the Wristmaster to get your right wrist set properly, the next goal is to try to train your right wrist to hold the beep all the way to the impact zone and strike the shot. And I will be demonstrating that in several drills as I show you in the next few minutes. So when you purchase your first Wristmaster, you want to get used to the auditory signal and its uses. And I want to show you a couple of drills that I've used in the past to use in conjunction with the Wristmaster. One of the main things I like about the Wristmaster is diversity of use in many areas of the game, and its ability to create a repetitive release point for all golf clubs in your bag. And when good players play and have a repetitive release point, they get to the point where the club releases And there's always a straight line with the left arm and golf club right after impact, and usually right through the left leg. So when we're hitting irons, we always hit down, the shaft leans forward, we strike and then create a straight line. When we take a driver, obviously there's not as much shaft lean with the driver as we move the ball more forward, but we create that same repetitive release point where my left arm and golf club form a straight line through my left leg at impact. Many things I like about the Wristmaster are the diversity of uses. It works in chipping, it works in putting, it even works in bunker play. It promotes club face awareness for all levels of golfer. What I covered initially was for right-handed golfers specifically. Obviously, the Wristmaster will work for left-handed golfers. So in left-handed golfers, the Wristmaster would be placed on the left wrist, and it would do the same effect. You would have the same wrist set in fundamental position to the top and hold down to impact. As I explained before, it's been my life's work to try to help my students get as good as they can with the ability to create lag in their golf swing. And the origin and invention of the Wristmaster came about when one of my students could not set his right wrist. And as you know, I've tried everything there is, as I showed you earlier. The next time he showed up with a prototype of the Wristmaster. And it was an amazing, amazing invention to me. It was an amazing thing that he went home and he created in his garage. That was in May of 2016. The Wristmaster has been in many prototype phases since then, and we've tried our best to make it viable. With the help of Northeast Scientific, we have now come up with the final product, which is flawless and works perfectly. The secondary use for the Wristmaster is to put it on our lead wrist. So when you place it on your lead wrist, the idea is to keep it silent. And the L drill is the heart and soul of the swing. And this drill will work fine. Again, you can use your live board in the same way. I just start with a wedge, and once you get used to putting the Wristmaster on and using it in your practice and even your play, you will be able to swing fully. But this is a great way to start to get used to it. And here's a wonderful drill for all of you to do. I've been doing it my whole life, and it trains impact. And what we try to do here is get the position of your L position, and again, there is no auditory signal. We are going to strike with shaft lean, and if we get forearm rotation of some sort. Another thing I like about it is that there are varied levels of forearm rotation. That would be considered a lot. You may have heard a lot in golf, turn your hands over, do this and that. You might have heard, keep your left arm straight. You cannot keep your left arm straight if your left wrist is broken down. It forces your left arm to break down. It's simple biomechanics of your body and how the joints of your body work. So by putting it on your lead wrist and doing the L drill, you can train your left wrist to work properly through impact and your left arm to stay extended. If your left wrist breaks down, you will get an auditory signal. Here would be one that we're not trying to do, and then it goes off and the sound stays on. The Wristmaster also works, as we've discussed, in every area of the game, and one would be short game, pitching, chipping, putting. First one I'll demonstrate would be a basic pitch shot, where you would set your right wrist and try to hold your right wrist through impact in the same manner as a full swing. Impact is impact is impact, and your hands work basically exactly the same way as they do on a full swing with chipping, with a few variations. When you chip and pitch, we put our weight a little bit left, but our hands and arms work exactly the same way. So by placing the Wristmaster on your trail hand, we will set the beep or the auditory signal and hold it all the way through to impact, maintaining that position through impact, creating shaft lean and lag. You can see I've placed the Wristmaster on my left wrist or my lead wrist. And when we chip, this is my favorite way to teach with the Wristmaster. As the biggest fault I've seen in my 30 years of teaching experience is that when chipping and pitching, there is a breakdown of the left wrist or lead wrist, and the club head passes the hands like so. Thus, we would get an auditory response. By keeping the lead wrist in a flat position through impact and the left arm extended and locked, we will have a very silent mode when we hit the ball, like so. And in putting, you would put it on your lead wrist and just putt in silent mode, and it works for every grip. Standard grip, putting, no breakdown, and it will be in silent mode. You could use the claw grip if that's what you use. Silent mode, no breakdown. That slight breakdown will set off the wrist master and let you know that you're releasing your putter head in your right hand too early. An additional use that no swing aid has ever been able to do has been to take it onto the golf course and actually play with it. The wrist master allows you that one practice advantage. It has a on-off switch. You simply turn it on, the beep goes on, you hit your shot, you turn it off. It doesn't go off as you walk down the fairway with your wrist flexion. And then when you're ready to hit your next shot, you simply turn it on and it's ready to go. You could practice with it while you're playing, and that's one of the major advantages of the wrist master. In my 30 years of teaching experience and all the hundreds of swing aids that I've come across for game improvement in the game of golf, there was always testimonials by people saying how good it is. I don't believe that the wrist master needs any testimonials. I believe it is so good and the best product that I've ever seen for the hands, wrists, and arms that it speaks for itself.